Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful framework for building better relationships. It's all based on an insightful article by Dr. Jorge Valenzuela.
All right, let's kick things off with a truth that I think hits home for pretty much everyone. Relationships. They're absolutely everything, right? But man, they can be so complex and, let's be real, sometimes just really, really hard. In a world that can feel so disconnected, figuring out how to make our relationships not just survive, but actually thrive is more important than ever. So what's the secret sauce? Well, the author argues that there's one core skill that rises above everything else.
Now, a lot of people might immediately say, oh, it's all about communication or it's respect. And those things are super important, but they're actually the result of something deeper. The true foundation, the real secret ingredient, is empathy. It's that ability to genuinely understand and even share what another person is feeling. Okay, and this is a really key distinction to make. Empathy and sympathy, they are not the same thing. Sympathy is when you feel for someone. It's kind of like looking down into a pit where someone's stuck and saying, wow, that looks tough down there. It can actually create distance. Empathy, on the other hand, is feeling with someone. It's climbing down into that pit with them and saying, I get it, you're not alone. It builds a real connection.
So, before we get into the whole 6-part framework, let's talk about a super practical tool you can literally start using today to practice this stuff. It's called the empathy map.
It's actually pretty simple. You start with the objective stuff, the facts. What did you literally hear them say? What did you see them do? Then you move into the inferential part. Based on that evidence, what do you think they might be thinking? And from there, what do you think they're probably feeling? It's a way to force yourself to look past the surface level stuff. And check this out. Here's a perfect real-world example of how the author actually used it. He was in an argument and he heard his wife say, "You don't listen to me." And then he saw her leave the room. So instead of just getting defensive, he mapped it out. He realized she was probably thinking he doesn't care, which meant she was feeling hurt, frustrated, and totally ignored. Now, this didn't magically fix everything in a second, but it completely changed his perspective and how he approached the conversation. All right, so with that tool in our back pocket, let's dive into the main event. The 6 essential elements for intentionally building stronger, more empathetic relationships. First up, effective communication. And listen, this is way more than just talking. This is about creating a space where both people actually feel safe and heard. It means you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, you're actively listening. It's about it being a dialogue, a two-way street, not just a monologue where one person dominates. And that leads to this really critical question you have to ask yourself. When you're in a conversation, are you genuinely trying to understand where the other person is coming from, or are you just reloading, waiting for a gap so you can jump in and make your point? This leads right into element number 2, trust. You can think of trust as the glue. It's what holds everything together. And it's not something you just give away. It has to be earned through consistent, reliable actions. It's about doing what you say you're going to do. And when you mess up, which we all do, it's about owning it and apologizing quickly. So here's the gut check question for this one. It's all about integrity. Are you the same person when nobody's looking? Do your actions match your words even when you think no one will ever know? Next up, element 3, shared values. The strongest relationships, whether they're romantic, friendships, or even professional, are usually built on some kind of common ground, some core beliefs about what's really important in life. And this really pushes us to get intentional. Do you really know what makes the most important people in your life tick? What are their core principles? If you don't know, maybe it's time to have that conversation. Element 4 is all about boundaries, and I think a lot of people get this wrong. Boundaries aren't about building walls to keep people out. Healthy boundaries are more like fences with gates. They're guidelines that let people know how to treat you and what to expect, and they actually protect the relationship from chaos and resentment. This is such a big one because so many of us fall into this trap, right? We just assume people should be able to read our minds and know what our limits are. But that's not fair. Being clear and kind about your boundaries is a gift you give to yourself and to the other person. Look, no relationship is perfect. There's going to be friction. People are going to mess up. And that's why element 5, forgiveness, is so incredibly crucial. It's about letting go of that resentment. And a lot of the time, it's not even about the other person. It's for you, so you can move on. It's about being able to give and receive apologies with grace. So you gotta ask yourself, are you carrying around these heavy bags of old hurts and grudges? Because that emotional weight is probably hurting you a whole lot more than it's hurting anyone else. And finally, we have element number 6,
And this is one that is so easy to forget in the hustle of everyday life. Just having fun. Sharing joy, laughing together, celebrating the wins, that's the stuff that builds resilient, happy bonds that last. It's a really simple question, isn't it? But the answer says a lot about the health and the joy in your most important relationships right now.
And what's so great about this whole framework is it's not just for your personal life. It's a seriously powerful tool for leadership in the workplace, too. You just tweak the language a little bit. Forgiveness can become grace, and having fun becomes celebrating team wins. The principles are exactly the same. So, what's the big takeaway here? At the end of the day, empathy isn't some magical feeling you either have or you don't. It's a skill, it's a practice. And building these kinds of deeply connected relationships takes real intention and consistent effort, just like getting good at anything else in life. So we'll leave you with this final thought. You don't have to tackle all 6 of these at once. That's overwhelming. Just pick one. Which of these 6 elements could you focus on just a little bit in one important relationship this week? What's one small step you can take?